Hello, good evening, and welcome back. I want criminals to be terrified, says Priti Patel. New Home Secretary vows to return to zero tolerance policing. It also goes into the Nick of the Cull Beach trial and the inquiry. If you're interested, then you can go look it up. I won't be covering that in this video. Ms. Patel said offenders should be fearful of committing any criminal activities. She speaks for the first time of her abuse at the hands of a racist online troll. She also claims she has never been an active supporter of the death penalty. And these are the three main things that I wish to go to. So, yes, she says offenders should be fearful of committing any criminal activities on our streets, she tells the Daily Mail. Quite frankly, with more police officers out there and greater police response, I want them to literally feel terror at the thought of committing offences. Ms. Patel also warns chief constables not to turn a blind eye to cannabis offences, which frustrates me a great deal because I'm all for liberty in a free country. I understand that it is still illegal in the country at the time, and it is one of those things where I wish to follow the law while I wish to change the law. So I do understand that you wish to enforce all the laws that are on the books, but it would be nice if somebody thought, yes, so this is the law, but we're going to try and change it. So she might say, yes, we're going to prosecute to the fullest extent of the law while these laws are around, but we're going to try and stop them. It would be nice then if people knew the law, what the punishment was, and it was cut and dry. That isn't always the case, as the judge then needs to make their own decision, as the law is there as a very good guide, but obviously things vary in individual circumstances. That's why you have extraneous circumstances in order to get out of things. So, speaks for the first time of her abuse at the hands of a racist online troll. Vows to restore integrity to the immigration system, but says it should not be a superficial numbers game. No, she says numbers don't matter, it's quality, not quantity. Because, Theresa May said it would be tens of thousands, couldn't make it happen. Boris Johnson is now saying, nah, we're not going to build tens of thousands. Who cares about numbers? Because clearly a country can take in millions of people and nothing will change. Criticises Theresa May's government for not doing enough to prepare for a no-deal departure from the EU. Attacks Labour's record on anti-Semitism, saying Jewish communities were living in fear. She plays a lot on this fear sentiment, which worries me, as that is often what the far left do and Antifa say, that, words and violence are the same thing, and therefore you can't speak out or say anything because then these people are in fear, and therefore us attacking people and being aggressive, we're the good guys by using force. And she seems to be saying the same thing, parroting the same points, but just on the other side. So maybe the pendulum is now swinging back. And she does have close ties with Israel, so who knows if she cares much about anti-Semitism, or anything anti-Jewish, or if she just cares about pushing Israel's agenda. Obviously, if you go back to the genetic roots of the Israelis or the Palestinians, then you'll see that Palestinians are much more Semitic than the Israelis. But then, of course, you can just change the definition from the UN, as Henry Bolton has done, the one who wants war with Iran, by saying, oh yes, you've got to speak Hebrew as well in order to be Semitic. So, well, right. So you don't actually care, you're just changing definitions to suit your own needs. Claims she has never been an active supporter of the death penalty, despite her public statements backing capital punishment in 2006 and 2010. In a separate move, Ms. Patel has demanded a full explanation of the police watchdog's decision to clear 3 officers over the Bungled VIP sex abuse inquiry. Yes, okay. So, and she was sacked, as it says, 2 years ago for Mrs. May's cabinet about clandestine, secretive meetings with senior members of the Israeli government. If you're trying to get rid of any thought of anti-Semitism and people thinking that, the Jews are controlling everything, then don't have secretive meetings, because you're only helping to push that. Just keep things out in the open, and then you can say, well, yeah, what are you talking about? We're not trying to control the world. We're not hiding anything. So she's been tasked by Boris Johnson with restoring the party's battered reputation of law and order and getting a grip on organising crime. Yes, she wants to bring back stop and search, or at least lessen the restrictions on it. They would say they will spend $1.1 billion over the next 3 years recruiting 20,000 officers. The Home Office is also preparing to relax restrictions on stop and search. My answer to this is, of course, the Second Amendment, allow people to prepare themselves and defend themselves, because the individual citizens are always going to be quicker than the police. As we've seen, 98% of mass shootings in America happen in gun-free zones. What else we got? If a man attempts to rape a woman, he is successful less than half the time if she does not have a gun, but if he does, that if she does, then he is successful less than 1% of the time. There's an amazing difference. I think it's 42% and 0.09%. So, yeah, you can make your own mind up on that then. Violent offence in England and Wales rose 20% to 1.6 million, the highest total since 2002. Only 1 in 12 crimes lead to a charge or summons, leading to claims that officers have given up. Yes, are you going to mention the rise in gun crime as well, considering that's also illegal? No. Right. Almost as if criminals don't care for the law. And also, the increase in punishment doesn't really have much of an effect, because people aren't thinking, what if I get caught? Because they're not thinking they're going to get caught, and they're not thinking of the consequences of their actions at the initial time. If you believe in rehabilitation, then that's fine, but using it as a deterrent does not work. So, Patel says the Mail, the Conservative Party is the party of law and order, full stop. The defence of our nation, defence of our streets, and law and order at the heart of our values. Sure, as long as your laws make sense, but it's worrying how authoritarian and totalitarian you wish to become. She also sends messages to officers that she'll support them in doing their job, saying the Tories are the party of the police and police officers. My focus now is restating our commitment to law and order and restating our commitment to the people on the front line, the police, she adds. Key thing is that we empower them to stop criminality. Yeah, maybe not too much though. If somebody's doing something to themselves and not harming anybody else, then, let them do it. Whereas her views on things like cannabis are saying, well, there we are. Any form of drug use, you don't turn a blind eye to it at all. It has a corrosive impact on people and communities. Yeah, but we all know that this doesn't work. If you're trying to get rid of alcohol, of course, just ask the Americans how that turned out. And I know Peter Hitchens says, well, you can't legalise any drug because otherwise you can never criminalise it again. But I don't see the problem. The laws against alcohol are already in place to say that you can't drink and drive, you can't drive under the influence, DUIs, so it'd be the same for drugs, for example. And just because somebody is intoxicated doesn't mean they're not responsible for their actions, even though people who say, oh, well, you can't be responsible for your actions if you're drunk, because, if you have sex with someone who's drunk, then that's rape. It's like, okay, right, so that person, what are we saying? That they're not responsible for their actions if it's sex, but they are if they're driving, or if it's literally anything else. Immigration, she says she wants to attract the brightest and best to Britain. Australian-style point system. It shouldn't be a numbers game. It should be about the wider contribution of people that come to our country and do contribute. Yep, you might lead to a revolt though of the citizens there, because you should be taking care of your own people first. I'm not going to get involved in arbitrary targets and figures because I think that is superficial. Clearly not. Post-Brexit, she says, a new Australian-style point system for immigration will focus on the skills we need, bringing the brightest and the best here and contribute to our country in the way we've seen immigrants do for generations. Yep, or maybe even better, training your own people to do it, and people who are then most likely going to have more loyalty as well, and wishing to stay there. It's what made Britain a world player in the first place, so I'd say do that. On leaving the EU, she says she's working relentlessly on no-deal planning, but admits ideally Brussels would offer a new agreement. Yep, cool. So now they're just saying she was inspired by values she learned from her shopkeeper parents in first interview. Right. That's irrelevant, doesn't matter. But we are going to get to some hate crime part that she mentions. She also speaks for the first time of her own bruising experiences of racism and online trolling and their impact on her life. I'm going to guess what the guy said here, I'm not sure. Because when you asterisk out so much, who knows what they say, and why are you giving so much power to words? Last week, just 2 days after her appointment, a man from Oldham was jailed after a series of vicious messages, including one to Miss Patel calling her a dirty Indian Ugandan black Paki nigger, I believe. In her statement to the police, London-born Miss Patel described the content as hugely upsetting and intimidating. Right, so it's law and order, she cares about crime and knife wielders, so you'll be thinking, okay, well, let's prioritise them, not worry about what people say online, it doesn't matter. Sticks and stones and knives may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Cool. But what does she say? I've had a lot of hate crime online. I'm a member of parliament and I attract all kind of comments. There has been, over the years, a catalogue of things. They did a full investigation, and although there was a history of abusive attacks, the type of stuff the alderman was saying, it is appalling. Alright, yep. That's to be expected. It's always been that way. Now she's in the Home Office, she is determined to tackle this and the wider problem of online abuse. I've been clear that I don't think we should accept or tolerate abusive language, hate crimes, or intimidation at all. Who decides that? What if I'm offended by something? What if somebody says, well, I'm offended at the very notion of a woman having a job, or a woman having authority over a man? What if that's offensive? Oh, you don't care about that? No. What if someone's saying, well, I find it offensive to have quotas or to have discrimination based on sex or gender or height or skin colour, ethnicity, race? I mean, what if they find that offensive? Now it just matters what they are. If they're straight white man, no, it doesn't matter. Threats or calls to action, yeah. Crimes, sure. I mean, I will concede that, even though I don't agree with it. We are privileged to live in the type of country we live in with free speech. Bullshit, no free speech. And a free society, not in the slightest. You're saying you want police to crack down and increase stop and search. No, let people defend themselves, for fuck's sake. And I'm a great believer in that. But at the same time, we do have our laws. Yes, but we already know they're not being upheld if people are concerned about being racist. So what did you think about Donald Trump's go-home remark to 4 congressmen of colour, 3 of whom were born in the US and the other who had become a child refugee? Go-home remark, as in, you're only knowing things. Go, fix it. That is how you did it. That doesn't have a place in this country, she says firmly. Ms. Patel was one of 6 black or ethnic minority politicians. So, we got Beam, I think, instead of Beam. Appointed Boris Johnson's cabinet, a fact that sent Corbynistas into meltdown. Yes, and I wish you would stop with this shit. And holiday heaven here, hot, sunny beach, the Middle East like Dubai and Abu Dhabi. I'm not sure if you want to have that much of a close relations with the Middle East if you're going to be trying to crack down on crime. Her inspiring quote is from Winston Churchill. She just seems a bit slimy now to me, and a bit too totalitarian. I did have hope, and maybe I'll come around. So, we have Labour MP Clive Lewis said that the ethnic minorities had to sell your souls and your self-respect to get there. Priti Patel says she has no time for this type of identity politics. Well, what if that's offensive? What if calling people Uncle Toms is offensive? Does that mean he should be jailed now as well for his comments? Surely, that's hate speech. He doesn't know what he's talking about. It's an insult to people from different communities that come to our country, contribute to our country, and work hard to get on in life. Yeah, so it's offensive. Jail him. Why not? Why not? What a class privilege. How much have the Tories changed? Does worry though about growing levels of racism in Britain. Not at all, we're a very anti-racist country. How the hell can you not realise that? Particularly anti-Semitism, maybe you're just butting up to the Israelis. Part of her childhood was spent in Hertfordshire, she says, in a predominantly Jewish community, and she didn't know what racism was. Funny that. Yeah, okay, cool. So there's no place for hate in particular against other people. Hate is a waste of energy, sure, go for indifference if you want, and get on with your own life. I can agree with that, no worries about it. And now we have communities that live in fear of that, and that's completely unacceptable. Right, moving on about with death penalty saying. So fundamentally think the Conservative Party is the party of law and order, full stop. So my focus is restating our commitment to law and order and restating our commitment to the people on the front line. The police, I've always felt the Conservative Party is the party of the police and police officers. Quite frankly, with more police officers out there and greater police presence, I want criminals to literally feel terror at the thought of committing offences. Yes, of course, you could just make accidents, or you could... it's like what Dr. Jordan B. Peterson said about Harry Potter, that the main group, they were normally the good guys, law-abiding, rule-abiding students, but when the time needed it, they weren't afraid to break the rules. And this is the case here. If you think speeding, for example, that's got to be in place for somebody, for the worst driver with the worst car to still be safe. And these laws are made for the lowest common denominator. It's the 1% that ruin it for everybody else. So don't think breaking the law is always morally wrong. Sure, it's illegal, but morally, ethically, not always wrong. And that's like jury nullification. So, should they be allowed to knock moped thugs off their bikes during a pursuit? They should make their judgments, she says. Oh, so it's okay when they do it? So for us, it's, well, here's the law, and it's going to be abided by, and you've got to be really careful, because there are police everywhere, and they will stop you and imprison you. But when they do it, it's okay. Yeah, well, why can't we have the same rule for everybody? Police should be role models. Yeah? Not intruders, not above the law, they are the law. So, they say her views on punishment certainly appear to have softened. She famously backed the death penalty in her early years in politics, probably what she's best known for. For example, in 2006, reportedly cheered when she said she backed restoring capital punishment, and she told the Mail Sunday, "If you had the ultimate punishment for the murder of policemen and other heinous crimes, I'm sure it would act as a deterrent. We must send a clear signal to people the crime doesn't pay, the punishment must fit the crime, and yes, I do support capital punishment." Not so anymore. She's saying that, some people say this, but that I never supported the death penalty. So, okay, well, what about Question Time 2010? The quote may have been clipped to change the way it was presented, she says. But going over this, and I agree, the quote is fairly unequivocal. Yep. Ms. Patel said, "I would support the reintroduction of capital punishment to serve as a deterrent, because I do think we do not have enough deterrence in this country for criminals." Yeah, politics is downstream culture, just go with that. Prison, she's adopting a softer stance, refuses to agree with the Michael Howard dictum that prison works. We are doing much more with prisoners in rehabilitation. You need that, you cannot just support the cycle of reoffending. Yep, so if you're homeless, go to prison, because you'll be taken care of, easy. Also a change of tone on immigration. Yes, instead of saying tens of thousands, we're going to say, oh yes, why would we need to put a number on it? It's not as if our services are dependent on taxpayers and the amount of people actually being here. No, it clearly doesn't matter. It's ridiculous. They're just saying her parents moved from India. She likes Margaret Thatcher because Margaret Thatcher was the daughter of a Grantham grocer. I think there's a lot to credit Thatcher for that doesn't have to include identity politics. And she's the one in charge of the money in her home, so she seems bossy as well. How fun. So my goal right now, along with everybody in this department, is to prepare for every scenario. It is in our public interest, it is our national interest, it's the duty of the government to do this. She says she's been too busy to replace what Sajid Javid put up as declaration. First woman from an ethnic minority background to hold the role, and that is something of which she's clearly and rightly proud. Doesn't matter. And she says that. Thank God, there's some semblance of hope left. I think it says something about our country. We live in a great country, an absolutely brilliant country that speaks about meritocracy and opportunity and freedom, and the freedom to succeed. Right. So it's meritocracy and opportunity. She's determined to prove that all over again. Yeah, cool. So it's meritocracy and opportunity, but apparently it's more racist now than it has been. So, which is it? You know it's not racist. Fucking hell. You're just doing these things to benefit yourself. You don't seem to care about the law. You don't care about equality. Well, you just want to benefit yourself. You think, oh yeah, I'm right, so it's fine if I do more than I'm happy with other people doing, because I know I'm right. It's like, yeah, we can stop democracy now, because I'm in power and I'm perfect. Like, fuck off. Surely, as soon as somebody says that, then they're too narcissistic to be correct. But, hey, what do you think? Am I wrong? Do you think Priti Patel is actually still doing well, and that she isn't totalitarian, and maybe we actually need somebody like that, because she's not going to be able to pass as much stuff as she wants, and if she goes in fully aggressively, then she will be able to get some stuff back? Or do you think she's trying to think, oh, well, this worked for Farage and Donald Trump and now Boris Johnson, so if I go in with a bit more gusto, then I'll be fine? Not quite realising that instead of going with speech and rallying the troops, she's just saying, submit. Yield. But let me know what you guys think. Always interested to know what you guys have to say. Thanks so much for watching. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I will see you next time.